Week 2 of Coach's Corner here on HD Media, and we are pleased to be joined this week by the girls head basketball coach of the Hurricane Redskins, head coach Jeremy Young. Coach, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, appreciate it.
My man, you guys are just absolutely rolling right now. You guys have had a really good start to your season, good wins along the way. You guys have had a couple of setbacks. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but just kind of give me, what's the vibe with this program this season? What's allowed you guys to get to this point?
You know, we talked about the beginning of the year, our slogan was raise the bar, and the coaches thought that we'd have a pretty good team. Didn't know we'd win so much early as what we did, but we thought we had a chance to be pretty good, and we just kind of started stacking one win after another. And next thing you know, we're sitting at 10 wins, 11 wins, 12 wins. And we knew that the schedule was going to get harder, but, you know, with each win, it kind of, everybody got excited, and the school started talking about it. We started getting more fans to come out, and, you know, I give credit to the girls. They've had a great attitude. They've been fun group to coach, and we keep getting better. We have had some setbacks, as you said, but it's been fun along the way. And obviously we got a few tough games ahead of us, but we're excited to finish the season strong.
I know whenever you and I have talked away from this, away from off the record, I should say, it seems like the basketball love, or just the basketball attention you guys are getting at Hurricane. Because in the past, it's always been either softball or soccer or track, but now it seems like there's a vibe, there's a sense of connectivity with basketball. Everybody's wanting to connect with basketball, follow basketball more. I mean, as a coach, you've been here for a while now. I mean, what does that tell you about what you guys have been able to build here at Hurricane? Yeah,
I mean, I told my admin here, my principal and athletic director, when they hired me, that, you know, there's no reason that Hurricane girls can't have a good basketball program here. You know, it's been proven that they can be good at soccer and be good at softball, which are two mainstream sports, and basketball was always kind of lagging behind. And some of that is because they don't start with a basketball in their hand at 4 or 5 years old like they do at those sports. But, you know, we can kind of piggyback on the Caitlin Clark effect. You know, I think more and more younger girls now are paying attention to basketball, and there's a lot of parents in this community that are pushing the sport. And so when I got the job, the first thing that I did, having coming up from the youth league in the middle school, was get my high school girls connected with the youth league players, and going down and helping coach, being a part of those teams, volunteering their time, and it's as beneficial for them as it is for the youth league girls. So that kind of started it a few years ago. Even though we weren't winning as many games, we were able to connect with the youth league and the middle school, and we've been been able to build off that.
Talk about the youth league side of things and the middle school side of things. It seems like there's a lot of good youth league systems, a lot of good middle school teams in the area, for girls basketball for that matter, but describe the importance of that in a community like Hurricane. Like what you said, you went to your administration, you said there's no reason why Hurricane girls basketball cannot be good. And it seems like you guys have had a really good amount of success along the way with that. So talk about the importance of that and how that's been vital to you all.
Yeah, it's huge. You know, when my daughter came up through and was playing, I got involved with the youth league on the board. My brother at the time was on the boys' side, and they needed a girls director, and they didn't have a girls only league at that time. I think years ago they used to, and then it went back to co-ed, and so I was really, my first year, I said, hey, we're going to have a girls league, and I think we started with maybe 30, 35 girls, and then the second year of it, we grew to like 65 girls, and it's important because a lot of girls that play basketball at that age, there's very few that want to go out there and play with the boys. You know, they're not getting the ball, they're not learning the fundamentals, and it's just eventually they're like, I'm not going to do it anymore. So by having that girls only league here, which now I understand it's Patrick O'Malley's involved with it, and it's grown to include Winfield and Hurricane, which is pretty cool because then they can have interleague games, and it makes the league stronger that way. But it's huge because without that youth league, they don't have that foundation. And, you know, you're in a situation kind of like volleyball where maybe they're trying out for basketball the first time as a sixth grader, you know, and by then we're so far behind other communities. So it's been a good thing here. We've got a good youth program. We've only got one feeder school to be a 4A school, so that's a challenge. And, you know, I wish we had 2 middle school feeders, you know, unlike some of these bigger 4A schools, they got 3 and 4 middle schools, so that means they've got 15, 20 freshmen coming out every year. But with us, we get the 4 or 5 that were from 8th graders at middle school. But we've got a good thing going here, for sure.
Going back to your old season this year, good wins, as I mentioned, including a win earlier in the season against a really good St. Albans team. But talk about what's the MO? What's allowed you guys to get to this point from an X's and O's perspective? I mean, you've been able to analyze a lot of film, but what's really led on the court to the wins this season?
Well, first of all, I think the girls have to believe they can win. If they don't believe they can win, you're not going to win. And, we were able to get some key additions this year to kind of give us a more of a complete team. We've always had some girls that were pretty good basketball players, but we just weren't able to put a competitive team of 5, 6, 7 girls together. And now I feel like we have strength at every position. We're flexible. We can adapt to any style if need be for the most part. But just getting them to believe deep down. And once they know, hey, we can compete with anybody. We maybe haven't won every game, but going in like, hey, they understand we can win this game. We're not the Hurricane of old. And some of the girls that are seniors now, they remember 2-3 years ago losing to some of these teams by 30 and 40 and 50 points. And they just think, hey, well, we can't beat this team. They're too good. And now we've closed the gap on some of these teams, but again, it's confidence and believing is what it boils down to.
When you talk about just the strength of this conference this season in the MSAC, a lot of good teams. You mentioned Spring Valley. There's you all, GW as well. We'll talk about that game in a second. St. Albans, Parkersburg, for that matter. It just seems like this conference this season is starting to expand even more in regards to the depth of it.
Yeah.
From your perspective, being around it for as many years now, what are you seeing from the conference this season that's allowing for it to be so special?
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of parity, and I know there's some really, really good teams. Obviously, we'll see the best team in the state tomorrow. Arguably, I think they're ranked first or second, depending on which poll you look at. But it's there's even though there's teams at the top, I think the teams in the middle are all really good schools, and you can't take a night off. I mean, really, all 10 schools in the conference, there's no team that's just a bad team, really. It's a lot of good coaches in this league. With Huddle, people are scouting. They're watching film. There's good coaching staffs all around, and you just got to understand. Hey, it's going to be a grind every night, and every game's different. The style and the matchups of the way these teams play are so different. So, which ultimately probably helps you prepare for the postseason and how when you go through a conference like as good as the MSAC is.
Talking about that GW game last week, obviously it was probably an eye opener for you all. I know I asked a similar question to Austin Lowe last week because they lost to Morgantown up north a couple of weeks ago, but similar question to you that I'll ask because I always like to pick up coach's brain following a loss like that. What did you learn about your team in those days following that loss to George Washington? How did they respond following that?
Well, not good. Any time after a loss, you're kind of down, and us as coaches, like, hey, what could we've done differently? And credit to GW, they played a really good game and executed their game plan. And we were coming off a really monumental win for us at Parkersburg. And then we went to Ripley Tuesday, and we had one day to prep for GW, and we really went light that day and didn't do a whole lot of competition and practice that day to really get them ready, and GW did some things differently than what I thought they would, but we knew we had to get better against man, but we just weren't ready for that type of pressure that they threw at us, and us coaches, we didn't do a good job of getting them prepared to see what they were going to see. So hopefully we learn from it, and if we see it again down the road, we'll respond better. But 28 turnovers, I don't care who you play, you're probably not going to win with 28 turnovers. So.
Let's talk about a couple of your players, and let's start with Alex Anderson. She's had a fantastic season for you guys. A really good shooter. She can get hot in very quick moments and can be streaky in regards to that as well, and can be a really big contributor. What has she meant to this program, and how have you kind of seen her growth through her years here at Hurricane?
Yeah, I mean, she hit her goal of hitting 1,000 points. I think it was a few weeks ago, and that's been a goal of hers. 4-year starter as a freshman. She's always been able to shoot. She's learning other aspects of the game now on how to be a team player. I mean, years past, I think last year we relied on her a little more heavily, but this year we have more balance, to where we don't have to rely on her. And I told Alex, I said, hey, the better we get as a team is going to help you get more shots. I said, you may not see it every game, night in, night out, but over the course of the season, you're going to have a successful year because of other things we can do on the court. And as you said, she can get hot at any moment. She had 10 threes up at Ripley last week, and I didn't anticipate leaving her in that long, but when a girl's hot like that, I think she was 10 for 15, so that was probably the hottest I've seen her, but some nights you just have it like that. So, but anytime she makes a three on the court, it gets her teammates hyped up, and if she's making shots, it usually bleeds over to other girls as well.
We'll talk about Brooklyn Jones. Obviously, she's been really pivotal for you guys, especially down low, getting rebounds, scoring down low as well. Her height has definitely been helpful for you guys. How important has she been for this team, and how has she kind of grown through the varsity ranks? Because a freshman being thrown into the varsity ranks, that's a tall task sometimes, but she's obviously embraced it and moved forward with it.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, she's just extremely coachable. She works hard every day in practice. She really listens to what the coaches tell her, and that's a credit to her parents. She has great parents, and having coachable kids, there's nothing better that a coach can ask for. But she come out early this year, and I knew watching her in the fall league, hey, this girl has something. She's got a lot to build off of. But just her rebounding and her strength and her desire to go after the basketball, I think she's got a goal to get 1,000 rebounds in her career, and I think she's on pace to hit that early on in her freshman year. But she had a bad game at Cabell Midland. And we took her out, and she sat out probably about half that game just because she didn't have a very good game. And I was worried about how she'd respond to that, and she responded by going out and going to Parkersburg and playing the best game she's played all year against, probably arguably against Porter, who may be the best center in the state, in my opinion. She's tough, and I think she held Porter to 0 points in the first half, and Porter ended up getting hers in the second half. But I was proud of Brooklyn. I think she had 15 points and 14 rebounds or somewhere in that neighborhood. So that tells you a lot about how her work ethic is on bouncing back from a bad game.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about just your roster now, I'll open up the floor for you. Who have been a couple of players that have really caught your eye this season and has impressed you and maybe even exceeded expectations?
Yeah, well, we already talked about Brooklyn and Alex. I think I'd have to mention Kendall. Kendall's been with me now for all 3 years I've been coaching, and she kind of came out of nowhere her freshman year. I didn't really know who she was. I heard she was a good soccer player, and she showed up at our first flex practice her freshman year, and I said, "Who is that girl?" She's just a hustler. She gets all over the court, and she's just a stat filler. She might go out and score 18 points one night and 4 the next night, but she's going to have steals, rebounds, deflections. She's going to fill it up, and she just doesn't get tired. And we've asked her to play anywhere from the 1 spot to the 5 spot on the court. So she's kind of our energy, our Energizer bunny, and she makes us go as a team. So I'm excited for her going into next year to be her senior year and seeing what she can do from a leadership standpoint. And we're going to be a lot younger next year, but I think having her on the team is going to be huge for our young players. But and then also Lauren White, Kate Dempsey, Gabby Chiano, all those girls are vital. Those are all 3 seniors. They've all bought in. All of them have played a lot of basketball, and we wouldn't have our record right now with any of those girls, without any of those girls.
Well, spend the final few minutes now talking about this new regional format.
Yeah.
Obviously, the elimination of the sectional play was announced a while back. Now we have a full-on single elimination regional tournament. Looking at your all's region, it's a gauntlet of a region, arguably one of the toughest in the state, just in regards to depth from top to bottom across any class.
Yeah.
You got teams like Spring Valley, UAll, Huntington, Parkersburg South, for that matter, Capital even. They can be scary at times. Talk about your thoughts on this. Do you like this regional format that we're playing with this season, or where's your head at?
Years ago, I probably would have said no, but I do like it from a standpoint of, hey, you're going to have your top, which we're in a 7-team region, which I think not only are we the hardest region in my opinion, there's 7 teams, and I think every other region has 6. So that's a little bit unfair, but hey, but 7 teams, I like it because you seed 1 through 7. It gives us a better opportunity of at least hosting. 1 game, if not 2, depending on what our seeding is. But it's been a long, long time since Hurricanes hosted a playoff game. So, whether we're the 1 seed, 2 seed, 3 seed, 4 seed, we get to host a game, which is pretty cool. And if we were sectionals, we may not get that opportunity. So, I like it. I think it's pretty neat the way that it's set up. So we're embracing it.
How do these regular season games? I know you guys have built up a really strong schedule, as have a lot of teams in this area. But what's the importance now with scheduling a tougher schedule and trying to get try and stack up wins on top
Yeah.
of one another, try and impress other coaches in the region when it comes down to seeding.
Yeah, and I think if you probably ask every coach is probably going to have a different opinion. When I'm building our schedule, it's kind of building it as we grow, and and a year out, you don't exactly know who's going to have good teams and whether you're stacking your schedule or not. The better your team is, obviously, the more you want to have from a conference strength standpoint. And had I known we were going to have as good of a year as what we were having, I probably would have tried to make the schedule a little more difficult early on. But also, we know, hey, when you go through the MSAC conference, you're going to see all those teams and you're going to play them. But you also don't want to make it too tough on them to where they start questioning their own confidence. If you stack it to where they're losing more games than they're winning, you could lose your team that way. So it's about having that balance of, hey, we want to make sure we win games, but we also got to challenge them mentally and physically. And I know we can get that out of our conference. It's just a matter of how many of the out-of-conference teams you sprinkle in.
I know the future is always murky, and this is my final question, but I know the future is always murky in some different areas with basketball, even sports for that matter, but long-term, kind of put your thinking cap on. Do you think long-term this is a good move for basketball in the state?
You mean the regional format?
Yes.
Yeah, even I do. It's interesting. There was a lot of talk about when the football went from 16 teams, I believe, to 4A. I think they moved it to 16, and there was some talk, is basketball going to follow suit? Of course, my head went thinking, that'd be great. Hey, if it's 16 teams, you can seed it like football, and if we're seeded 1 through 8, we get to host to go to states. I was like, that'd be pretty cool, But it, you could argue it every which way. I know right now the Eastern Panhandle probably has a little bit weaker on the girls' basketball side. But 4 or 5 years from now, that might flip, and they might be the strongest region. So it depends on who you ask. I do think that girls basketball in our region has been really, really tough. And every coach that's coached at Hurricane before here has probably said, yeah, that's tough to go against. But that's what it is. And I feel like if we can grow the culture here and build it, whether we have state tournament success or get to the state tournament, that'd be great. But we got to start somewhere. And the only way to do that is to keep our girls here and keep winning.
Well, Coach, good luck the rest of the way. I know you guys got a gauntlet of a schedule before we start postseason play, but good luck the rest of the way, and look forward to seeing what you guys do.
I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. That's the girls head basketball coach of the Hurricane Redskins, head coach Jeremy Young. Be sure to check out our coverage from now until the boys state tournament in March by going to our website, wvgazettemail.com. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at GazMail Sports, that's G-A-Z Mail Sports, and be sure to follow us on Facebook at HD Media Sports.